Well, thank you so much, Sihle. And it seems that the load shedding is all everybody's talking about, along with everything else. It's load shedding and. But Eskom has started implementing a stage 4 load shedding. The utility says this is due to 6 generating units that they lost yesterday morning, placing an additional strain on the system. Now, stage 4 load shedding is the most severe and the final option for Eskom. And for most households, that meant the power outages are hours of inconvenience, and all you could hear are the complaints from far and wide across the country. Even the president saying that he was shocked by what happened yesterday. Roger Lilley is the editor of Energize Magazine, and he's here to chat to us about some of this. Roger, thanks for coming through.
Good morning, Zakina, and your viewers.
Roger, let's start with the stage 4 load shedding.
Yes.
Now, how does this happen? You have the whole president of this country saying he is shocked and surprised. So what does this mean? Is this, given the severity of it, not something that the president at least should have been informed about, a problem with the power grid? What exactly is going on here?
From what we've heard, from what we've been told by Eskom, there are technical problems which were unexpected. So for many years, much of the generating equipment in South Africa has not been maintained properly. And so the result of that is that now they have started to do the maintenance. To do the maintenance, you need to shut the equipment down. That means that it's not generating power to the grid. The load remains in place, but the generating power is not there to meet that load. So the load is now spread across other generators that are running. But because some of those also haven't been maintained properly, or in the case of Medupi in particular, they have design fault problems so that they're actually not capable of supplying the power they're supposed to supply, then you get a domino effect. So you apply more load onto equipment which is not ready for that load, and it falls over too. So it trips out, that increases the load on others, which then start tripping out too, and you start getting this situation where you have now up to 6 or even 7 generating stations that are out of service simultaneously. It's unheard of. It should never happen, particularly at a time when the economy is slow, the load is low. This is summertime when the load is already lower than it is in winter. This is not the time when this should happen. And so it really reflects very badly on Eskom.
And I guess for the reasons that you've just mentioned, this is what makes South Africans suspicious, you know, and it gives rise to all sorts of conspiracy theories and the like. But as you say, this should not be happening at this stage. So why is it happening? Is it due to incompetence? You know, is it really just a systems failure? Why is it happening?
Well, as I sit here with you this morning, Zakina, all I can tell you is what I hear from Eskom. And from what I hear from Eskom, the situation is technical. They are adamant that this is not some kind of ploy to manipulate NERSA, as someone has suggested. This is not a sabotage act. So we have to believe what Eskom tells us, because Eskom are in the power stations. They know what's going on. They're there, and I'm not. But I can tell you that this really should not be going on, particularly at a time when South Africa, on paper, has 44,000 megawatts of capacity, of which about 30,000 is actually operational right now. Now we have 6 of those drop out. We're down to about half of what Eskom should have on paper. Well, that's just unacceptable. I'm not surprised the president is shocked.
Do we have the capacity and the competence to deal with this effectively?
Not in the short term. We're going to have this for a while, until such time as the power stations are brought back online and the system can be stabilized. We're very fortunate that Eskom has a very sophisticated national control center in Germiston, which can actually switch areas of the country off so that we can balance the load to the supply, because if that did not happen, then this domino effect would continue until there was no more generation at all, and we'd be all in the dark permanently.
So if we don't have the capacity, if we don't have the necessary competence, what is the short-term solution then?
Well, the short-term solution is for South Africans to reduce load as far as possible and help Eskom by keeping the load down, and give Eskom an opportunity to get these power stations back up and running again.
But given all the money that Eskom is spending, and we know about the debt levels, you know, over 400 billion in debt Eskom finds itself in. And as you said, you know, we are in the summertime. We are in a space where we are told that Eskom should have excess capacity in terms of generating electricity. So the problem is, you know, where does the solution lie to Eskom's problems? The president has set up a new task team to help the board, the new board at Eskom. So it seems as though you have all these resources thrown at Eskom, and yet we seem to be going from bad to worse.
It does look that way. But I think the situation became severe under Brian Molefe's CEO-ship because he diverted money away from maintenance to use for other things. And the result is that this lack of maintenance is catching up with the power utility.
But this is also an excuse that we've heard, Roger, for quite a long time. You know, it's the maintenance, it's the maintenance. We've heard of maintenance festivals at Eskom, you know, where they've gone on these drives. So at what point does that not wash anymore?
Yes. Look, part of the problem, Eskom has what they call peaking plant, which runs on diesel fuel. Yesterday I heard from Eskom that 100 million rands worth of diesel is spent by Eskom every day running those power plants. Now it could be that there's a lack of fuel or there's a lack of money for fuel for those, I don't know. But we do know that the hydro plant that we have in the Drakensberg, where water is pumped up at night and then runs down during load time in the morning, that water has run to the lower dam and needs to go back, but there now isn't generating capacity to pump the water back. So Eskom is a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's just getting worse and worse. The long-term solution is independent power producers, to privatize generation, because private companies don't allow this sort of thing to happen because there's no bailout for private companies. Private companies stand or fall on the profit they make.
Well, there is a school of thought that also believes that this particular crisis that we are experiencing right now is actually manufactured in order to actually pave the way for the privatization of Eskom.
Yes, there are lots of such statements, but we don't have any evidence of them. So
but does it make sense? Does it make sense at all? And at this stage, is it prudent to just blame everything that's going on at Eskom on corruption and malfeasance that went before? Because the question for me right now is, do the people at Eskom actually know what they're doing?
I firmly believe that there is a core of people at Eskom who really do know what they're doing. They're good, well-educated, well-practiced engineers who have been there for many years and know what they're doing. But the problem is that they are controlled by their own management team and they are told what to do and what not to do. I know it has been suggested that power stations can be switched off so as to create a situation to force nurses' arm to give Eskom the 17% increase in tariffs that they're looking for. I would really hate that to be true. I don't want to believe that that is the case, because if we're in a situation where manipulation like that can take place, then we really are in trouble.
So you spoke about the independent power producers as a possible solution. We know the unions are opposed to that. And in the short to medium term, how would they alleviate the crisis that Eskom finds itself in?
Well, there's a number of things that they could do. One of the things that is possible to do, but expensive, is to bring in a thing called a power ship, which is a power station on a ship which is brought to a South African port, connected to the electrical grid at that point, and pumps electricity into the grid. So that could give you electricity within a week and could relieve the load sufficiently so that maintenance could be done. That is one option. It's an expensive option, but it could be done, and it's available immediately.
So why isn't it being done? Didn't Eskom sign an agreement with 27 independent power producers? Why isn't it being done?
Yeah, that's the question. I wish I had the answer for you on that one.
That is actually quite shocking because, again, Eskom is spending tons of money And seemingly, all we hear is excuses and excuses. The cost overruns at Medupi and Kusile, hundreds of millions of rands. And then these projects are way behind schedule.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about design flaws?
That's right.
All these years down the line? How does this happen? And you saying to me, the people at Eskom actually know what they're doing.
Yeah. Eskom made a fatal mistake in doing 2 mega projects simultaneously, particularly the projects of this size. These are unique power stations. They don't exist anywhere else in the world. They are brand new designs. And we've got to do that here, and we've got to do 2 at the same time. I think it's a level of pride and arrogance that has come back to bite them. But having said that, we shouldn't even need them, because without them, we still have more than enough generating plant in the old equipment than we need, because we have 44,000 megawatts of power available. If we take Medupi and Kusile out, we're still down to about 38. We only need 30. So why are we having these problems? Eskom need to answer those sort of questions.
But the answers are not forthcoming.
No, not
now
yet.
There's a meeting with the minister, Pravin Gordhan,
yeah.
And we know what happened the last time they met with the minister. Suddenly, people's leave was cancelled before the festive holidays, and the power remained on until this weekend.
Yeah, and this is going to happen again, and we're going to have the same repeat, because what happens is political pressure says, keep the lights on. Okay, so we stop maintenance so we can keep the generator running. But all we're doing is postponing the evil day, because it's going to happen again, as we saw now. So in December, no one had leave. Everybody kept the power going at the power stations. Guess what? February comes, the things collapse, because it wasn't maintained.
And you tell me, Roger Lilley, that the people at Eskom know what they're doing. So, and just perhaps a final question. What should be done right now in order to, at least in the short to medium term, improve the prognosis of what's happening at Eskom?
Okay, well, let's start with the 27 IPPs. Although those contracts have been signed, the equipment still needs to be built. That's going to take about 2 years. So we can't wait for that. What we can do immediately is South Africans need to reduce load. We need to find a way to reduce our load, to live lightly, as was once coined, the phrase was once coined, and allow Eskom the time to get this equipment maintained properly, back online, so that we can overcome this problem. But the longer we postpone this by having these short-term festivals, which I think just change the oil and points and don't do a proper service, we're going to keep coming back to the same problem.
Well, that was Roger Lilley, editor of Energize Magazine, talking to us about some of the problems at Eskom. And we are asking you about that in our question of the day. Load shedding stage 4 yesterday. We told stage 3 yesterday. And on the weekend, it started at 10, yesterday at 9. Today, it's starting at 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. So let us know, how is all of this affecting you at Morning Live SABC? Let's take a break.